I want to ask you something. How did January feel? Not what happened in January, but how did it feel for you? Because I've been having the same conversation over and over with so many women. And what I keep hearing is these three words that it feels heavy, it feels uncertain, it feels off. Like something has totally shifted, but they can't name what it is. And I feel that too. And I don't think we're imagining it. I think there are real reasons, actually, many real reasons for why this particular moment feels so hard to navigate. So let's talk about it. January this year felt really different for me. Not the usual New Year pressure. Something underneath it, a kind of shedding. Old clients wrapping up, old ways of working that stopped feeling right, and old versions of who I've been in my business that just didn't quite feel like a fit anymore. And I kept feeling like I was supposed to be out there, launching things, being visible, having it all together, while internally I was still catching my breath from whatever just happened the year before. So I started trying to understand it. And one of the things I landed on, and I know this might sound a bit out there, but stay with me, was the Chinese zodiac. Now, I'm not really into astrology, but it's been hard to avoid news and information about the Chinese years that we are in. And we've just moved out of the year of the snake. And snake energy is slow, introspective, transformative, and it asks you to go inwards and to let things shed that need to be shed. Most of that transformation happens under the surface and it's really invisible to anyone else. And now we're out of the year of the snake and we've moved into the year of the fire horse, which is supposed to be fast and unpredictable with momentum. And it doesn't wait for you to feel ready. So if January felt like you were between a shedding of sorts and entering this gallop momentum phase, still catching your breath from one and not quite sure how to hold the reins of the other, that actually makes complete sense. And I don't think this is a weakness of any sort. It's just a transition. And then there's just everything else that's happening in the world right now. The AI landscape is not moving quickly. It's moving violently. Every few days, there's a new model, a new capability, a new headline saying this changes everything. ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok. The names are all blurring. The claims are escalating. And honestly, even for someone who follows this space closely, it is a lot to process. And then there's the economy, the markets, the quiet, uneasy conversations happening in every industry about what jobs are going to look like in 3 years, in 5 years, what jobs will be there, what jobs won't. What does that mean for us? What does that mean for the clients serve, for the world our kids are growing up in, for our families, for our future, and for the business we're trying to build in the middle of all of this uncertainty? And what I think is really important to acknowledge, especially if you're a solopreneur or coach, is that you feel all of this differently from someone working inside a corporate. There's no HR department around us absorbing the shock of the economy and the pace of change. There's no management layer filtering the noise that lands directly onto us. It just all plonks onto our nervous system. And then you have to get onto a client call or be with your kids and hold space for somebody else's nervous system. So what I want to say really clearly is we are humans processing an inhuman amount of change right now. And the overwhelm that we're feeling is not a sign that we're falling behind. It's a completely reasonable response to an unreasonable amount of input that we are all having to consume at this moment. Now, to get my head around all this, I've been reading and listening to a lot of people I respect about what's actually happening right now. And I want to share 5 voices with you because together they paint a really good picture of what I think is genuinely clarifying about where we're going and what this all means for us. The first is Raoul Pal. He's an investor and the founder of Real Vision. He's a visionary that talks about the future, investing money, and how to make it in this ever-changing market. He talks about what he calls the universal code, this idea that we're not in a fast, linear pace of change. We are in an exponential one. And all the market curves are hitting their steep vertical climb at the same time in this moment. He calls this the greatest wealth-creating and disruption-causing period in human history. Not in this decade, in human history. Then there's entrepreneur Matt Shumer. One of his most recent articles went viral with over 83 million views. He titled it "Something Big is Happening." And while it's true, it did feel a bit dramatic to me. However, I still think you should read it because it talks about a lot of things we're all feeling right now. And then you have Gary Marcus, who's a cognitive scientist and one of the most important voices of skepticism in the AI conversation. And I include him in this video because he keeps us thinking. His point is basically just because an article like that of Matt Shumer is well written it isn't the same as being fully reliable, and it doesn't mean we just take it as the truth. And we shouldn't surrender our critical thinking just because something is well written. Then you have Allie Miller, and I absolutely love her. She's one of the most followed voices for AI. She was recently named one of Time's 100 most influential people, and she talks about what she calls information asymmetry. Her point is that the divide we should be paying attention to is not tech versus non-techie people. It's between those who are actively learning how to use AI, who are curious, engaged, putting knowledge into action, and those who are waiting on the sidelines for things to settle down before they even think about engaging. And she says the gap between these two groups is not closing, it's widening every single day. And you really have to choose which side of the gap you want to be on. And it's pretty obvious which one we need to be on. We need to stay curious. We need to start embracing these tools because they're going to be part of every element of our life now and moving forward. And then you have Elon Musk. At Davos in January at the World Economic Forum, he said, "My prediction is there will be more robots than people." He said, by 2040, humanoid robots will outnumber 8 billion of us. And I worry about this because that's a world my kids are going to grow up in. So a lot to think about, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed. And to add to that, he asked a question that genuinely stopped me when I heard it. If computers and robots can do everything better than we can, what kind of meaning does our life have? So it's all pretty dramatic if you think about it that way. But the reality is we have to start thinking about these things. Gary Marcus pushes back on Musk's timeline, saying that maybe 2040 is a little too ambitious, but neither of them dispute the direction in which we are heading. Automation, artificial general intelligence, artificial superintelligence is all moving into spaces where we are currently living and working. And this is where I really want to land because I think this is the most important thing I want to say today. A robot can't carry the texture of a life lived, of your experience, of everything you've gone through from when you were born to now. It cannot bring the weight of having survived something, of rebuilding something, of changing direction at the age of 38, 47, 53, whatever age, and figuring out who you are on the other side of that. It cannot be you, the specific, irreplaceable version of you. In a world filling up with machine-generated content and machine-performing tasks, genuine human presence is not becoming less valuable. It's becoming rarer. And rarer means more precious, I would say. But, and this is really important, if no one else can see your humanness, nothing will matter anymore. You won't matter. Because being visible anywhere, say online, clearly and as yourself, sharing what you actually think, your ideas, your experience, whatever you've lived or want to build or create, your ideas, that is no longer a marketing strategy of sorts. It's going to be a survival strategy. And this is true whether you run your own business or you work inside someone else's. Whether you're a coach or a consultant or a corporate leader trying to stay relevant as your industry shifts around you, your ability to show up as you and put your ideas out into the world has never been more important than now. The people who attract the most opportunity in the next few years are not going to be the most qualified. They're going to be the most visible and the most human. They're going to be the ones that are most clearly positioned to solve a problem, to help you. The ones who show up consistently while everyone else was waiting to feel ready to share everything they have to share. And the good news is, sharing your ideas in this world, putting yourself out there, yourself as an authority or whoever you want to be is not hard to do, and you can actually use AI to help you do this. Not to replace your voice, but to remove the friction between your voice and the world actually hearing it. Use it to help you write that idea you've always been thinking about, to write the post you've been sitting on for weeks, to turn a conversation you've had into a piece of thought leadership that can direct the way other people think and live. Let AI help you draft the article, put your ideas down so that you can shape it and put them into the world because they need to be heard, they need to be read, they need to be seen. You have to remember that AI can really help you do this, and it doesn't replace your perspective. It just gets it out of your head and into the world faster. You don't need any skills to be able to express yourself anymore. So let me bring this home. The overwhelmed feeling is not a sign that you're failing or that you're being left behind. It's a sign that the old container is too small for what's coming. It's the gap between who you were and who you're being called to become. And that gap, as uncomfortable as it is actually an invitation, if you think of it that way. January was a shedding. What fell away was ready to fall. And that's how I'm thinking about it anyway. We're not smaller for it. Let's think about how we can be lighter for it. Raoul Pal, I mentioned him before, is right. The wave that we are riding now and walking into this AI first world, AI native world is real. Matt Shumer is right too. Something big is happening, and it's a change that we have never imagined in the history of humanity. Marcus, with a bit of skepticism, is right too. We just stay awake and keep thinking despite all the information being thrown at us. And Allie Miller is right too. The information asymmetry we're seeing is real. We get to choose which side we want to be on. And Musk is right about the one thing that matters the most when this world is full of robots and automations that are doing everything we've known how to do for ages. Our meaning and our purpose becomes the question of our time. And you get to answer it. Not with a robot, not with a prompt, but with your life, your work, your experience, and your willingness to be seen doing both. Your willingness to be seen as human and as real as you possibly can be. Your humanness, your life experience, your way of seeing, these are not things the world is moving away from. They are precisely what the world is moving towards and what the world needs more of as it becomes AI native. And you may not feel it, but you are so much more ready than you feel. I've written up all of this, the full essay, and it goes much deeper into every one of these ideas I've shared here. It's about 3,400 words, and it takes about 14 minutes to read. And it's called The Great Overwhelm. It's on Substack. The link is in the description. If any of this resonated with you today and you want to go a bit deeper into what I'm talking about, go read it when you have a quiet moment. And if it reminds you of something you've been thinking of or something you've been feeling or a conversation you've had with someone else, share it with me, share it with a friend. We're all in this together. And if there's anything you'd like to share with me, I would love to hear it. So thank you for listening to this. And I do hope you read my essay. And I'll see you in the next video.